Hello, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order. George will stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, do I hear a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
Motion to adopt tonight's agenda on September 25th.
Second, any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Approval of minutes of 8/26/24. Everybody been over the minutes? Do I hear a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 26/24.
You second it? Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Road report.
So we're finishing up our year's worth of MRGP work on Pine Hill Ranch Road. And from there, we'll be back to the garage for a couple of shop days to do our final off check of all of our winter equipment. Put everything together and run it and make sure it doesn't age anything before the first bit of snow flies. And after that, we will be working on our snowplow turnarounds. And that'll probably put us, right about the first snow, to be honest with you.
Good.
Yeah.
Way too early for that work.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I feel the same way, but nonetheless, we gotta be prepared for it, so.
How's the sand?
Winter sand.
Yeah.
So we're having that trucked in and we're using different stuff than we've used in the past. This was something I wanted to hit a couple times before winter starts too. Looks rather white, so it's gonna be pretty tough to see it on the roads. So people might see a plowed road and think that we didn't sand or anything. Trying to mix some of the sand that we've got left in the shed from last year into it, just to add a little color to it, so that it's kind of a transitional period into it. And we're having the Flowboy trailers haul the sand in and fill the shed up. We did pretty good. This was the most sand I've seen left in the shed after last winter. We still had 2/3 of a shed, and that's a 3,500 yard sand shed. So we probably only got about 1,500 yards maybe to finish putting in there. We've had a few loads in. That would actually be done, but the loader blew out the drive shaft last week, so we had to shut that down. So with the sand, yeah, you'll see a road and you might not think it's plowed, or multiple roads and might not think that it's plowed, but there will be material on it, and it just has a grayish look. But you mix that on with snow and it probably will be hardly noticeable. It is a 3/8 inch crushed stone from Florence Crushed Stone, and another thought of using this is we're not putting silt onto the roads, and with pure stone, that makes a good solid base. So it'll also help to decrease mud season or multiple mud seasons within 1 year. And in the event of an ice storm, you have 3/8. The ice has to build up to 3/8 of an inch roughly to cover up the material versus sand, which it's a fine grain. So a couple raindrops or freezing raindrops cover that over in no time. So better traction and better roads.
How much more is this?
Off the top of my head, I have to look at last year's winter sand price, but I was able to work a pretty good deal with the owner of Florence Crushed Stone. He gave us a pretty solid deal on that.
This is actually like crushed marble.
Yeah.
It's not really, really big though, right?
No, it's like 3. Next time I'll try to bring in a little cup full of it or whatever, just so you can kind of see it and people can put their eyes on it.
You said different municipalities dye it if they run into a problem.
Yeah, it is dyeable. They make all sorts of different colors, so you can have a trailer truck come in and dump it out, yeah, and then you can pick the color that you want your road to be, pour the bag on top of it and mix it up a couple times. I could look into the cost of that. I didn't really
Here we
feel
go
that
for
it was,
Christmas, we can have red and
didn't
green
really
ones.
feel that it was necessary.
Or really nice.
You know, you can look at a road and tell if it's been plowed or whatever, so,
See how it works,
yeah.
and then see about coloring it if we need to.
Yeah, but I do think that people are gonna kind of, you know, people that don't hear this over the next few months, every once in a while, we'll try to repeat it as we go into winter. Just to, the word spreads and, you know,
You
I think that was-
hear it too. You can hear it on your toilets.
you'll be able to hear this, you'll be able to feel it as well. Not like slamming down the road or anything like that, but you'll be able to feel it. So a lot of, I did some research with other towns. I like to network with other towns a lot. And, they love it after switching from crushed bank run gravel, and they refuse to go back to, and it's actually easier on the bed chains inside the sanders and stuff, because you don't have those fine pieces that get in there in between the chains and the sprockets and all that, and you don't get as much wear and tear on the equipment. You'd think you'd get a little bit more, it seemed, you know, but it does make sense, and they loved it. And they said their biggest challenge was, you know, first doing it, people were thinking, oh my God, there's, you know, it's a plowed road, but it's bare.
At least they're getting rid of their marble dumps,
Yeah,
just like the slate.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
I mean, you're getting rid of the slate dumps. I got around my house, right, I have slate dumps, crushed
Like the
crushed
tires, but-
stone.
so this comes from over where Amya is. They have, these guys have 2 different locations, and they're able to do a good deal because they're moving that product, and they like to get that product out of the way because they're looking to get a different product for Amya. So they're not mining and crushing that just to make money off of that
Right.
particular product. They need to get it out of there so that they have the space to get to the product that they're actually looking for Amya. So that was another helpful part with getting a reasonable price for us and getting us into it.
Good, hope it lasts a few years and it works well.
Yeah, yeah, and stiffens up the roads nice and good too.
Right, good.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The loader is fixed. Yeah.
Anything else?
Not unless anybody has anything. Any
Anybody have
questions?
any questions?
Are you still doing roadside mowing?
We had to stop for a little bit. But that'll actually be headed up Fennel Hollow tomorrow, and then up over Pond Hill Ranch, and then probably continue the Fennel Hollow and the Hampshire Hollow area. Once that's done, we're gonna use that to go ahead of where we're working, and then we don't, it's much more,
It's easy to navigate.
yeah,
Work around.
yeah, it is, and it's also much more efficient than putting the mulching head on for things that you can do with a boom mower, so.
So how was the new tractor that we bought?
Take a look at Morse Hollow.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Pond Hill looks really good. I heard that they were talking about how, when you guys went down, how well that looks too.
The backside of the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even have to run them over there because there was so much work to be done that we kind of had to scalp
The
the
big,
edges and stuff, and that
Looks good, though.
basically cleared all the.
Morse Hollow looks good. Worked well.
Yeah, I believe so. Your edges are back. You're not fighting brush to, you know, when you meet another vehicle on the road, or even it was to the point in some places where it was barely enough single lane width because of all the bush and whatnot, the overgrowth. So
Good.
I think it's gonna be a fantastic thing. It's gonna be harder to notice this year because we did get it so late, and and whatnot, but next year, everybody should see a rather good difference
Good,
with everything, so
very good.
It's looking good.
it's working
Right.
good.
It's the crew.
That's what
And,
All of it.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Under the community development,
So I have sort of an update listed here for the past couple of weeks since whenever the select board met last. The town's MERP grant applications are in development right now. Jeremy at the RRPC has been helping significantly with that. He's actually authoring them for the town. And we're reviewing them. We've had a few planning meetings with Paul as well over the past couple of weeks about our approach to the applications. But we're almost there. They're actually, I think he finished them on Friday, so we just need to review them and they'll be submitted this week. So those are for each of the 4 buildings that were assessed through the MERP assessments that took place earlier. We also have a MERP mini grant, which the town has had since March of this year, which is a $4,000 grant, which we will be using to host an energy efficiency community event, workshop type event with the Planning Commission. So I attended the Planning Commission's meeting last Wednesday to ask for some assistance from them in organizing, putting together some content and finding partners and just pulling this together for the community to attend and learn more about efficiency resources that are available. So we are just starting to plan that with the hope to have it possibly at the end of October, but more likely sometime in November before the holidays. So that's underway. I wanted the select board to know that I scheduled a meeting with USDA for funding for the fire apparatus, and Chief Kerber has sent me some information about what the amount that they are looking for, sort of as a follow-up to the discussion that was had at the last select board meeting. So USDA is where we're headed first, and we'll see how that goes. The Town to Trails Rec.
for
Sorry.
a second,
Sure.
Sarah, that USDA, is that a grant or is that funding?
It could be either. They have grant products, they have loan products, they have a variety of different products. So USDA typically is a resource for this type of thing. So I'm hoping that they can help us in identifying what they could offer. So once I've had that initial meeting, I'll come back to the board with some options.
Okay,
Sound good?
I'm just interested. Usually that's a loan. And we said to Aaron last,
It's not always a loan.
Hmm?
It's not always a loan.
not always, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They do.
So I just found that out. That's why I had to ask.
Sure. I'll come back with all sorts of information, I'm sure.
Okay.
But they do have grant
I'll
products.
be patient.
Okay, so the Town to Trails subcommittee is forming, the Town to Trails committee that has been in existence since the master plan was completed last fall. Rec Hub Subcommittee is forming to help guide the grant that we got from the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable. So I sent out a call to the subcommittee, the Town to Trails Committee, the village trustees, the Planning Commission, and the Select Board, asking that anyone that might be interested in joining the committee contact me. I'm trying to keep it small, but if a lot of our committees haven't yet had folks who are involved in site development or site engineering or architecture, things of that nature. So I was hoping to see if there's new folks in the community that might be interested in helping on that committee. So I have had one person respond so far. So hopefully we will have a few more that can help guide that project. And then the last thing on the agenda was the GRCSU board meeting, which I attended last Wednesday, I think it was. So it was a full board, and I made a brief presentation about the work that the community's been involved in, outdoor recreation development, and really some of the assessment of the community's rec facilities. and just described a bit of, you know, really the work that's been going on for the past few years here. The board went into executive session after public comment, so I have not heard anything from that meeting, if any action was taken or if there was any follow-up, but it seemed to go well. I met a few of my neighbors and they appreciated, they talked to me at the school in West Rutland afterwards and said, you know, thanks for telling us that. You know, this is something that the school board needs to think about its facilities as a whole.
If there was no action taken, then obviously they must have.
Not at that meeting.
No,
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to go and look for any minutes or anything like that, but I have not heard about any action being taken.
Yeah, good to he'd get back to us, so we haven't heard yet either.
Good.
So maybe a little time for that to settle.
Holy does have a strong representation.
Not as much as you think.
Higher?
I went to Proctor with them to look at those tennis courts and compare those and ours and talk about the facilities, but
That's good.
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting to see how this goes.
yeah.
Schools are supposed to be part of the community, not segregated.
Yeah, there was one comment made that from one of the staff that, you know, afterward, they said, is this really a thing? Do we really need to think about these facilities in a different way? So what that's worth. Yes, we do.
Yes.
So,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else, Sarah?
no, that's it for the community development report.
Anybody have any questions for Sarah?
thank you, Sarah.
Yes,
Thanks for what you want to do.
Thank you. Manager's report?
So, Nick Stark from the RRPC asked me to give him some time on the agenda to discuss the updated Rutland Regional Plan from the Regional Planning Commission. Do you share anything on there, Nick, or?
Yeah, I was hoping.
Okay.
That'd be great. I've got print down. So, yeah, I'm here to talk about the 2026 regional plan again. If you guys remember, it's here about half a year ago, something, for what was phase one. We are now in phase two. So phase two is report back. So basically, after the work that we did, speaking with folks across the region, we now want to kind of let you all know what information we gathered and give you some insight into how that's driven the policies that we've drafted for each of our chapters. And really, out of phase two, we're hoping to, get a reaction from you all in terms of what we learned in phase one, and then get your thoughts on those draft policies. And we're not doing that right now. I'm just letting you know how to do that. So real quick, I'll recap what we did in phase one, how we went out in some communities and gathered that input. And then I'll let you know how you can engage with us during phase two. And then I'll give you a little sneak preview of some of the draft policies. For anyone who's uninitiated online or in the audience, the Rutland Regional Plan is a comprehensive 8-year plan to guide and accomplish coordinated and efficient community economic development in the region that balances both economic development with social, cultural, and environmental priorities. So in phase one, the way that we gathered information was we had 27 town presentations. You may remember being at one of them. We had 21 pop-ups across the region, which was way too many. And then we had 5 community open houses where we invited folks to come in and ask questions, and we got to tell them a little bit about, what we were thinking and some of the issues that we solved. And we had a fantastic turnout with our survey responses. We blew past our goal of 1,000 and got 1,200 survey responses across the region. And one lucky person won a solo stove. So In phase two, we're looking to, take on a similar effort, although albeit slightly scaled back. We learned a lot from the first one, where we needed to put our efforts. So we're going back to each of the select boards. So every municipality in our region will be having one of these presentations. We're going to be holding 5 pop-ups. I believe the one in this sub-region is going to be at the Wells rummage sale on Friday morning. So waiting to get confirmation, but that's hopefully happening. And then we're holding 2 feedback sessions, which are hybrid. So you can come to our wonderful new office in downtown Rutland and have some snacks and learn about all the policies for each of the chapters and ask questions. Or you can go online. There'll be a link at rutlandrpc.org/plan 2026. And we'll also be recording them. So if you miss them, you can watch them back. That little QR code works if anybody wants to scan it now or during the recording. And that goes to our new survey. So basically, there's a lot of information to download for you all, and I'm not going to force you to do it. So if you want to, that survey has it all and sort of guides you through the process of reading the drafts, gives you some insight into how we, develop those drafts, and gives you a comment box to provide any input as to, are we on the mark? Are we missing anything? What are we, where can we improve? That kind of thing. I feel like I've touched on all this, but a bit of what we're hoping to get from you all in the survey is, do you agree with the key takeaways of the input that we received? Is there anything, that you feel is missing in these conversations? Some topics like housing are a bit more, people have been thinking about a bit more than cultural resources. So we've had some mismatches in terms of the amount of input that we received. So we're hoping to fill those gaps. And then in terms of the policies, do you agree with the direction of the draft policies? And again, is there anything missing that we should consider? So, or I show you a little bit of what those draft policies and the key input looks like. Any questions?
Is there going to be a calendar dates on these presentations, pop-ups?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. On that website right there, rutlandrpc.org/plan 2026, that has all of the public engagement efforts. It has more background. It actually has a whole phase 1 report. So it goes really deep into the details of how we collected this information, how we summarized it, what some interesting things that didn't make the cut were, and that kind of thing. So if you are looking for something to read, phase 1 engagement report is on there. Yeah, and you can always email us plan2026@rutlandrpc.org with any comments, questions, that sort of thing.
That's a silly question. Were the information from just the survey or from the survey of the meetings? Did you kind of combine them up, question together?
Yeah, and been a minute since I've looked through the phase 1 engagement report, but I think that it does, suss out a bit, like this came from here, this came from here, that kind of thing. Any other? Okay, so I'll bring you guys up. So this is just an example of what you're going to see at the feedback sessions, and in a different format, what you'll see on the survey itself. So basically, we have on the left, what we heard. These are a few bullet points in terms of land use, what people were writing down in their survey, and on the poster boards when we went out into the public and met with them. And then on the right, the policies. And for the most part, it should be, there should be an obvious connection between the two. But some of them, were also informed by conversations with other stakeholders that weren't part of the engagement effort and stuff like that. So there's, good questions to be asked within there. So that's it. And then just give you you know, it goes through all 10 chapters. I won't bore you all to death with this. But yeah, any questions? Otherwise, I'll let you guys get back to it.
I just have a quick question. Do you know, have you had a kind of an idea of how the policies are differing from the existing plan? If they're substantially different or if they are, you know, based on the feedback, if they're turning in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that we were looking to differentiate from the last plan was there was a lot of vague language in the previous plan, and we're hoping to get slightly more, you know, pinpointed on stuff. And just to give you guys a bit of a peek behind the curtain, like, you know, each policy will also have an action and indicator of progress associated with it. So this is like high level, we're making sure that we're steering the ship in the right direction. And then in phase 3, which is the alignment phase, we'll share the entire plan with everybody for input. And that's where we get really into the nitty gritty of like, all right, we want to, you know, focus feature growth in downtown districts and village centers. What are the levers that we're trying to pull to enact that policy? But that's a great question, is that, you know, we all, of course, read our chapters beforehand and everyone took something a little different away from it, but that might be a good exercise for a meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Awesome. Thanks, all.
Then we go on online on that Rutland RRPC.org and read everything on it.
That'd be great.
Nick,
Thank you.
right? Discussion of ARPA fund obligations.
So somebody may recall, the ARPA funds need to be either committed or spent. Well, excuse me, they need to be committed by the end of this calendar year, and they need to be spent by the end of the 2026 calendar year. So we do have some uncommitted ARPA funds currently, and this topic came up at the last merger meeting about whether or not this board wanted to discuss using some of the remaining ARPA money to fill the gap for the cost to engage a consultant for the merger study. Sarah has identified and has teed up an application for a potential grant to help fill that gap. But in the interim, you know, some of the members of the select board that are part of the merger study, I think felt it was a topic worth discussing at this meeting. So I have it on the agenda. And also the fact that we have to either obligate the remaining funds by the end of this year, or there's a mechanism whereby you can put by certain series of motions, the select board can put the money into their general fund, short of identifying, you know, item A, we're going to spend this much money, item B, that much money.
What's the goal that we have left?
Well, right now we have, there's one item the select board has discussed using ARPA money to fund, and that it's looking like that item is going to be about 40,000. So if you set aside that amount, there's about 77,000 and change left of the ARPA money that, as I stated, you either got to obligate it by the end of this calendar year, or you can move it into your general fund. But I didn't know immediately if the board wanted to talk about that, the gap for the funding of the consultant for the.
How much is the gap for the consultant so that everybody
I
knows?
think it's 20, just a little under 24,000. It's 23,470.
If we put that in with ARPA money and we get a grant, can we just take it back out? How does that work? we commit to it.
Well, the way I envisioned it, if the board wanted to take an action tonight, they could say, you know, someone could say I make a motion that we, pending the results of the grant application that we're about to submit. I make the motion that we expend up to $23,470 less any grant funds out of the ARPA money. If any grant funds are received.
That would come out of the 77,000, right?
Correct.
So if we approved that, it'd be $53,530 left in the ARPA money.
We do have a $10,000 grant for the merger. Already. Right?
Yeah,
The merger,
The consultant.
the consultant's
it's
cost.
actually 10,377.
We're in a position that we need the money right now to go ahead to the merger study, or can we wait to hear back on the possible grant?
No, I think we could move forward with executing a contract for that consultant. I haven't seen their proposal as far as it's usually staged, like this amount of money now, this amount of money with this milestone. So I don't think you necessarily have to, tonight, commit the ARPA funds.
You know what the time frame is on when you'd hear back from a possible grant? Weeks and months?
This grant would be within the next 4 weeks, I think.
That's only 2 meetings, and we should know one way or the other. But either way, even if we do approve it or don't approve it, we still have 77,000 we have to earmark for the end of the year.
Or move it to your general fund budget or your general fund.
All right,
So I think we should wait a couple of weeks.
I do too, don't you think? I think
Think
so.
about it, yeah, think about it, yeah.
You feel that way?
Mhm.
You
Sarah, does
too?
that work for you too, you think, just let's, do you have more time?
I haven't really thought about that. I've just been thinking about the grant. So the grant's already written, just need to submit it. And yeah, you should know pretty
Mark,
quickly.
you think we wait a couple of weeks? You comfortable with that?
Yeah, one more meeting.
All right,
Then
we'll wait a couple of weeks, see where your grant filters out. If they aren't pressed for money right now.
That's not lost anything.
But if this doesn't stop the consultant from moving forward without funds at this present time, then we'll wait for the grant. That's what I'm hearing, right?
Or is it time to hire him now?
I mean, we've already indicated that we're gonna hire him. So, yeah, we've already indicated that we're gonna move forward with them.
Right.
I mean, the grant timeline, I think, does start in October. The proposal was to start the work immediately with the merger steering committee. So there could be a deposit required, which is typical too.
Okay, so if there is a deposit that is required, we would need to take,
No, I don't think so, because I mean, typically the grant that we have now, it's a reimbursable grant, so,
okay, all right,
you know, you make the commitment.
all right,
That one is first,
we got it. All right,
perfect.
we'll wait.
He passed your muster.
Oh, it was my decision, but he passed the muster at the steering committee. So yes, yeah, and mine too.
That's good.
Okay, we'll wait.
Well,
Kim Ragonnet.
So I just want to give the board a report on the Kim Ragonnet project. It looks like our contractor is going to do the work this week. We had an on-site meeting. When I say we, Joel and myself and the contractor had a meeting on site this morning. There's a couple little issues that we're figuring out between Miss Ragonnet and our engineer. Spoke with Kim and I was playing phone tag with the engineer, and we're gonna have a phone call tomorrow, because there was a couple little tweaks to the plan that we're considering after doing a pretty extensive on-site inspection.
Okay. So he might start this week.
Yeah, the plan is to do it this week. It's gonna be a couple days. One thing we're considering is, closing the road to through traffic, because of the proximity to the road itself.
Yeah, you gotta have excavator, yeah.
So it's looking like it might be either Wednesday and Thursday or Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
More, couple of our highway guys will be operating flagging positions.
Okay.
Do you feel this will solve the problem?
You'll put drain
If
pipes.
it's engineered out, it should, right?
Sorry?
Is it gonna be drain pipes?
No, sir.
Oh.
No, we explored a couple different options, the engineering firm did. One, initially, we had hoped we could tie into the drainage system that was put in for the bridge.
Yeah.
But because of the topography and there's quite a bit of ledge, right where the drain systems were, we weren't able to do it. We can't make the water go uphill. And then, there was another consideration that would have been quite a bit more extensive, directing the water across the road and discharging it through another culvert. Was gonna, Kim owns some property on the other side of the road that she currently uses to park her vehicles, and it was gonna, if we did that route, it was gonna consume most of that property. So now it's a paved swale system that we hope to direct, and discharge or direct the water, into the woods, south of this property.
All right. Good.
A little bit uphill, there's a little bit elevation.
No, I think so the plan calls for, 6 inches of sub-base material with 2 inches of pavement, with I think it was a 2-degree slope. Am I correct on that? Do you remember? Anyways, that's why I hired an engineer.
Right. Good. Think too much.
Good,
Okay.
good news. That's starting this week.
Thank you guys for doing that.
I do owe Jane Williams, she had emailed, I think last week, I do owe her an email back. I'm meeting with the engineer again on her property to reassess the plan that, I think I told this board I received some grant money to implement that plan, but some new information has developed that I need to make sure the plan's still gonna work. So I'm meeting with the engineer, I think it's October 3rd or something.
Good, we'll take care of everybody up on that end. That's good.
I've got a note on here, Devin Neary, the executive director of the Regional Planning Commission, had put an email out saying that the Marble Valley Regional Transit Board is looking to fill a spot on their board, and it's anyone who's from the Poultney community that has an interest in public transportation. You'll see, if you want, maybe you've already grabbed it, description of what that volunteer position entails is right there. I did share this with the Village Board of Trustees last week as well. And I think Devin has been reaching out to different community groups. Nick, you know where you were that or?
No, not mine.
Okay. Similarly, I have a note here on the Rutland County Solid Waste District representative. Currently, I'm the rep, and if I either have to convince that board or the planning commission to change the dates and times of the meeting, because the schedules for those two meetings conflict, so I'm always juggling two meetings, same time.
It's 10 a.m. though, it's a tough time.
On the
Yeah.
Marble Valley, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Tuesday at 10 a.m. That's gonna discourage some people right there.
Tuesday,
But 10 a.m.
it's one day I work.
as it is.
One day.
I'm saying 10 a.m. for many people, that's, I think, tough.
Why?
Some people work and
Some people,
clock is right in the middle of.
we don't can't be full time.
Now, I did, if I can switch gears, I did, circulate the VLCT model dog control ordinance
Yeah.
that has that, that one, thing that we've been discussing about a potentially vicious, dog situation. And, I know some of these clusters of dog are still happening. There were the ones on River Street, Corporal Ricketts, as you all know, was back in Poultney for the sheriff's department, and we're directing people to him, and he's advised folks, if you want to give a statement on the dogs, then I'd have something that I can go forward with. But if no one wants to give a statement, there was one incident that was reported to this office this morning with those dogs on River Street, and we directed and we communicated with the sheriff's department. Here's what happened, and here's the person that was the one that the dogs were harassing.
Do we have to come up with a fine schedule? I know we don't have a fine number there. Do we have to?
Yeah, you would have to come up with a schedule.
Let's take this home and go through it real stringently and put it on the agenda for full discussion at our next meeting, and start the ordinance and see who would like for fines and start the process.
No, I did attend, VLCT put on a seminar on adopting ordinances and amending ordinances. And, municipal ordinances, there was some discussion in the past with these boards about, where does the ticket go? How do you track it? And VLCT has advised me that you can track it on the Vermont Judiciary website. I went on there and kind of played around with it a little bit just to see, it is a little bit, it says town of Poultney, this is how much, this was the ticket, this is how much funds were generated, but it's not like, Joe Roberts on September 5th, and that was his ticket, and at least that I could see. I only spent about, 20 minutes in there poking around, but VLCT tells me that there's a way to track, because I know there was some concern about it going into some sort of an abyss.
Well, I think if we're gonna do it, that's the part we have to talk about, because we have to have a
Yeah,
plan to make sure we can carry out the plan.
yes, I'll read this and bring it and start the discussion in our next meeting. I mean, we won't, this is gonna take a few discussions to start getting the ordinance together, but let's start.
So just to circle back on the solid waste, I did ask the manager over there to send me the sort of the job description, but it's essentially, it's sort of like you're on the select board of the Rutland County Solid Waste, like you vote on the budgets and personnel issues, and much like the select board does for the town, it's kind of that way, but he did say in a description that he could forward it to me if anyone was interested.
Okay.
It was John's ordinance thing, is it? I don't know how much of a process it is to adopt an ordinance, whether it's something you can kind of piecemeal. We don't think it perfect the first time. If we just adopted part of this and then went back and did a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you could. I mean, you could even, I think you could even take the ordinance that you have and plug in sections of this that you think might be, you know, good for moving forward. I know a lot of communities use the VLCT models for different ordinances only because in theory, it's a well thought out ordinance, universal type ordinance.
Yeah, so we don't feel like we have to get 100% the first time, just moving toward a better document.
Yeah.
Okay. On the agenda, next, in 2 weeks.
I should let this board know that the planning commission is very close to wrapping up, the updated modernization of the municipal bylaws. They are hoping to have a community meeting sometime in mid-October, I think. Some of you were on the board when we updated the slate mining ordinance. You may recall that the planning commission had their own separate meetings and then forwarded their recommendations to the select board, and that's how the bylaw modernization thing would work. So first, they're going to take public comments and see if there's folks in the public that want to weigh in on anything.
It's gonna be in October, you think?
I think it's sometime in October. It'll be, I think it was the 16th, maybe.
October 16th,
October 16th is the day before.
October 16th, 6 o'clock here.
Firehouse are here.
Firehouse.
Firehouse is what we talked about.
Oh, Firehouse.
We take 2.
People have questions.
We can answer.
I've also asked planning commission.
That's at 6, right, Paul?
Yes, it's at
TBD.
6 o'clock.
6:30.
That board usually meets at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Yeah.
Oh, yes, they said no, it's 6 o'clock, you know.
I just, because of the special nature of the meeting, I don't think we discussed a specific time, and we're also looking at the availability of the firehouse. So that, I would just say, double check that before that you're watching.
Okay.
I mean, Marky does.
I had also made an inquiry to the planning commission, and I have informally said, this is something you guys need to talk about, but it came up more formally at our last meeting, at the planning commission's last meeting, which was, I think, last week. Some sort of ordinance or regulation pertaining to food trucks. Probably in the last year, I've had a lot of inquiries about people wanting to bring food trucks to mainly the village. And we don't have, a lot of towns have what they call a peddler's license that regulates food trucks, and we don't have one. So the planning commission, I think they're gonna kind of do a little bit of research and see what they could come up with as far as what they might recommend
Okay.
for adoption. If it's, food trucks is becoming, seems like it's becoming more of a thing.
Definitely is.
It was hopping at Shaw's today.
Geez, that's another pop-up, Nick.
Paul wants to recognize.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
yeah, so you can make comments maybe during your public comments. That's all I have for the moment.
Did you hear or take any action on the Vernon propane property yet? We asked you about them
We should talk about that.
in executive session?
Yeah, I think that makes sense
Okay. All right. That's it, Paul?
for the moment, yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Paul?
Thank you.
I have a question. Is the tax lien still being processed by the lawyer? Wow.
This actually, we discussed this at the last village trustees meeting. I don't know if this, I might have mentioned it to this board, but the legislature has recently passed a new way of dealing with tax sales. And the last time I talked to the attorney's office, they were putting together, they were digesting the new law and putting together a memo to their municipal clients and what do you have to do now to do it in accordance with statute? In fact, they advised me that there was, I think, they told me there was 2 towns that they were just about ready to do tax sales for, and they had to stop it because of this.
There's a new law got passed.
There's a new law. The main component, as I understand it, I haven't personally fully digested the new law, but one of the main components is now you have to, the municipalities have to offer a reasonable payment plan to the delinquent taxpayer before you can move forward with tax
That's
sale.
what I'm actually do that.
Isn't that
So,
what we're already doing?
It's not. People can, are more than welcome to come in.
well, I mean, so like I said, the lawyer's office is working on
Okay.
bringing their clients up to speed on what they have to do.
So we'll see how
Because
that-
I was ready to send it to them and they said, oh, wait, we're gonna have to wait and put a pause on that.
Okay.
Okay,
So, yeah,
yes, I've got some people breathing down my neck. I needed to know that so I can tell them where this is with the state. And they'll breathe down my neck even harder. That's what you're here for. Okay, thank you. At least I have an answer. Good. Anything else for Paul? On the Rutland Regional Planning Commission?
I added to the agenda, I just want to make the board aware that I was invited to, as a regional commissioner, to an appointment to fill a vacancy on the Basin Water Quality Council, of which Paul is also a commissioner.
Oh, you guys are into everything.
yeah.
There's a fair amount of boards and meetings. I think the goal there, they meet quarterly, and the goal is to identify additional projects to implement for as the clean water service provider. You probably know more about it than I do at this point. So I attended that meeting in September with Paul as well. And so let's see, the report from the Board of Commissioners, they met on September 17th. It was the first meeting since the summer recess. The big news from that meeting was that the RPC was awarded a $1.25 million workforce development grant, which will be from the executive director's report, was from the Department of Labor, Workforce Opportunities for Rural Communities Program. This is a federal grant. So over the next 3 years, the grant is intended to support job growth in critical sectors, focusing specifically on the fields of infrastructure, construction, and clean energy. We were given a presentation on that, and it's an exciting award for the community or for the region. And then the other 2 items that were on the agenda for the commissioners meeting were policy development regarding member dues and regarding the brownfields reuse program. So the commissioners adopted a new policy for both, and a new committee will be formed to identify brownfields projects throughout the county.
Okay,
And I think that's it from regional planning.
all right. Anybody have any questions for Sarah on that?
So I'm still trying to digest what Basin Water Quality Council is.
So I've been attending those meetings for probably, I would say, maybe close to a year.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah,
it's,
Basin. What's the basin?
Lake Champlain. Lake Champlain.
Okay, which we are part of.
So it's basically a pool, a pot of money that the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, in tandem with the Poultney Meadowy Natural Resource Conservation District, identify water quality projects. For instance, the Jane Williams project I referenced earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We applied for funds through that program to divert water from to clean the water before it hits the
It's the river.
Poultney River.
Yep.
And so the council, it's like this region. So it's Poultney, it's Benson, it's Castleton, it's Fairhaven. There's different municipalities. There's different companies that say, I've got this project that we could divert so much phosphorus from going in and ending up in the Lake Champlain Basin, but I don't have the funds to do it. Could I apply for some of these funds
Oh, all right.
to do these projects? So it's a, you know, as I said, the Regional Planning Commission and Hillary Solomon from the Poultney Meadowy Natural Resource Conservation Districts is, you know, they're the heavy lifters. They run the meetings and coordinate with different owners and identifying projects. There's several on Lake St. Catherine that we're looking at. So that's sort of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, on to public comments and concerns.
Well, I can start.
Sure.
Since you recently talked about the food truck issue.
Talk about what?
The food truck issue.
Oh, okay, food truck.
I live directly across from Shaw's in the Little Yellow House.
Oh, yeah.
And when the generators are running, it's enormously loud. Last week I spoke to the planning commission. They suggested I come here. That there's 2 regular food trucks that come every week, and one of them comes multiple times a week. And the train depot that was just purchased with a new owner that is up against Main Street and Depot Street, that corner there. She's the Fucking Chicken restaurant owner and has posted on Facebook that she's going to bring in food trucks as well on a daily basis, even when she's closed for business as a restaurant. So I don't mind food trucks at all as long as they're not running a generator. They're so loud and that triangular corridor with nothing to absorb the noise. So last week they suggested I go out with a decibel meter. And so I was all ready, and today they had the food trucks, but the one that makes the most noise, the Pelletiers that sells fried dough and french fries, was not making a single sound. So I'm thinking they might have plugged in. Maybe word got out.
Yeah, they got 2 places.
They were plugged in there, yeah.
And then it was mentioned, I guess it was in the meeting last week, that Poultney has electrical plugs at every light on Main Street.
Yes.
And it's a 120 volt, I guess is what you call it, outlet. So maybe some food trucks can use that, but they might need 240. They would be.
Yeah, that's up, they're all up in the air too. You need a ladder to get up to
The
the.
lights would have to be on.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, no, I think
Oh, and
that
lights need to be on.
the lights, yeah, I think the lights need to be on too. They're all GFCI interrupted circuits.
Oh, wow. So that's not really an
And
option.
so you won't get electrocution or electric shock when you touch a pole.
And they never use those, but even for a townwide or anything, they never use those plugins for anything, yeah.
No, those are,
But the generators are loud.
they are
I've
loud.
heard them
You've
down-
heard them?
Down there, yeah, well, they ricochet off the
Oh,
limits building.
It was plugged in today, it must have been Loomis's building, Travis, they were plugged in, it was plugged in today, because I
Right,
went by,
right.
yeah.
is this like a portable generator
Yeah.
that the
Oh, yeah.
food truck brings to run their power?
Like a 6,000 watt,
Oh, yes, they are
and
loud.
sometimes 2 of them go. Yes, I witnessed 2.
Okay,
Yeah, so they'll have a pickup truck beside their vending station with the
Yeah.
the generator going.
Okay,
I suspect the people that run these things would welcome quiet,
Mhm.
so they can talk to the customers.
This going in front of the planning commission, you said?
Well, I think they made an indication that at their next meeting, they're gonna, between the meeting that was last week and their next meeting, they're gonna do some digging, see what other communities do to kind of come up with the game plan. Initially, the planning commission said, well, I think that's on your select board. And I said, well, much like the unified bylaws, I see it as, this is what we think you guys should adopt. Here's what you, if anything, here's what we recommend.
That comes from the planning commission.
That's how I thought of it, but,
That makes sense.
they're gonna look at it and report back at their next meeting.
At our next meeting or their,
No, at their next meeting.
which is in mid-October?
I think it's
Jonathan, do we have one before?
So the interest has picked up steam as the conversation has unfolded. As of last Wednesday, we did not have a regularly scheduled meeting as well as the public hearing. The public hearing was going to serve in that place. And then we would be looking at picking it up further along the line so that we can give full priority to the unified bylaws. If this needs to pick up pace, I guess that would be something that would need to be communicated to us. But otherwise, this would follow, I think, and I'm speaking for a commission here, not just, so take it with a grain of salt. I think this would fit and slot in right behind the adoption of the unified bylaw project, which is supposed to be prioritized.
Okay, yeah, sounds like if they're gonna be more food trucks and stuff, and they're gonna use generators, pick up the pace.
Got it.
That's right. Noise ordinances there. One.
So we do have a general standard in the bylaws for noise ordinances. As I explained I think at the planning commission meeting, I use this word lightly, decibel meter.
You do have.
But it's like from the year 2000. So I think I told this planning commission, because I tested it, I could stand here and everyone could be as quiet as a mouse and it would still say it was 65 decibels in here. So,
Which is the level.
Does it have tinnitus in it?
I don't know.
You-
I'm sorry.
I think 65 is about what we speak at.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, what I'm saying, if
I'm just saying.
if everyone was sitting here quietly, it would say it was 65 in here.
That make an investment.
Yeah.
ARPA funds.
No, they're not that costly, but
That's something that, with the food trucks coming in, if you see it foreseeable future, we're gonna have more of them. We need to take action on that right away. And if it is, above 85 decibels, I think that's the threshold.
It should be 70,
I think
because
it's-
that's the point where you might start having ear damage.
I'm thinking of, where you have to wear earplugs. I think that was 85
I think it's,
decibels.
I don't know, I don't have it in front of me.
Used to
It's
be
like
able-
70. During the certain hours, I think it's 70 or 75, and then during other hours or in different districts, it's a little bit higher.
Right.
Either way, that's something we have to
For
find,
15 minutes.
see what we can do right now. And I don't know if somebody could just simply go down and ask them, that there has been,
Again.
could you please put something around your generator to quiet it down? Or just, you gotta be considerate about people around you
So they had
until
to,
the ordinance gets put into place.
they had that permission from Shaw's to be there. Can they just park anywhere they want?
They're kind of on Loomis property.
Yeah, I know,
I
but
spoke
some
with
of
one of the managers of Shaw's, and he gave them permission to park where they're parking at Shaw's.
Yeah.
As I understand it, I haven't verified it with Travis Bapty, but as I understand it, they have permission to park where they are behind his building.
I guess my only concern is too, we're trying to get restaurants in here. It's kind of strange that we're gonna have all these, trying to get new restaurants and we're gonna have all these food trucks on the same thing. So that's something else we should just think about. I mean,
Right.
how many food trucks can be in Shaw's parking lot, and we're not trying to support the restaurants in downtown too. So that's another thing. If you have anything to say about that?
Not only in Shaw's parking lot, that's where you go to buy your food. Okay,
Well, the one that goes to Shaw's parking lot, I asked her to move towards the door to Shaw's, and she was amenable to that, as opposed to being at the sidewalk. That's literally 30 feet from my front door. And she says she can when there's no cars parked there and she comes in. But if they're parked there, she's gonna park at the sidewalk. That's, if this continues, I'm just gonna have to sell my house. Drives me insane for that number of hours, that much loudness.
Yes, yes,
But if it's quiet, that would be better, right?
If they're plugged in,
Yeah, if they're
I'm
plugged in.
good.
Right, yeah.
I'm for whatever they wanna do.
The council will not have a decibel meter or the sheriff's deputy?
Don't know.
Quick
I would
search,
think they would.
quick Google search has a ton of options between $20 and $120 for a decibel meter. So if the town decided it wanted if we decided to purchase one of the.
okay. We'll start the process.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments or public comments or concerns?
I just want to add, the generators, it isn't just noise pollution, but it's air pollution, and it's pretty concentrated in one area too, and you have a lot of kids and elderly in that area, so you don't want to expose people to that unnecessarily.
Yeah, that would be part of the ordinance.
Yeah, and I think I've dealt with the Pelletiers, and they want to be good vendors, so I can see them agreeing to plugging in if they're asked, and I'm sure the other vendors would be the same way. So if there's any opportunity for them to do that, but my concern too is if they're plugging into the town, how are you going to meter that?
Well, everything is metered.
No, but that's something else.
But if they plug into the town, I don't know where they could plug in honestly, other than up on the light poles. And those aren't on unless the lights are on. And you need a
So we'll
ladder.
have to watch for those overnight.
You say meter. Assess the expense.
Assess the expense.
To the-
Yes, that's what you need.
Right.
Look at the equipment, you see what the wattage is, and you can do just some calculations.
You can calculate.
Yeah, on the timer on and everything.
And build them, so, okay. The other thing is I want to thank you for continuing with the dog ordinance, because I think that's really important. Again, it's a quality of life issue in town, and for the dogs and the residents that are being harassed by the dogs. Regarding, Paul had mentioned the Marble Valley Regional Transit Board of Commissioners. Did you say that's open to anyone?
Yeah, I can give you the description if you'd like.
I was just wondering if you could just put that up on the town's website too.
Yeah, and
I think that'd be a good thing to do. My only other question is, after you folks came out of, I should say, the select board came out of the executive session back in August, and you moved to buy the tractor and mower. Can you explain why everything was done in executive session? I mean, was there bidding involved or anything like that?
I thought it was because it was under a contract negotiation. We were negotiating with the seller of the piece of equipment on what we were willing to pay for and what services we wanted done to the tractor before it was delivered to us. I just thought it fell squarely within the executive session exemption of contract negotiations.
But we did vote in public.
Correct.
I just didn't think it was appropriate for meeting minutes to be like, Alan Glenn, not that this is what happened, but, Mr. Burnell stated he thought it was only worth 40,000 and Mr. Teeter thought it was worth 60,000, and I just didn't think it would be appropriate to put those in meeting minutes.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
I don't think it was anything nefarious or.
No, I was just, again, it was, just curious as to how you made that decision. So was it a company that you purchased it from, or was it an individual?
It was a company located in Pennsylvania.
No rest,
What'd you say, no rust?
no rest.
No rust.
Fortunately, as you know, in executive session, if we do talk about contractual personnel matters, was in executive session, and when you ask questions and you don't get answers to them, you really don't speak about what you talked about in the executive session. You know what I mean?
I realize that, but if you're going to be paying this person, then that's going to be public information.
Yes, yes, it is.
Correct.
And it is. And it
But the
was.
discussions in executive session are not.
Right, but I was asking
Oh,
why.
I know. I just wanna say,
Yeah,
you know,
I understand.
okay, good, thank
Thank you.
you. Any other comments or concerns?
Just what I heard tonight around the table, when you were talking about laying marble down on the roads, has there been any study into the possibility of silicosis of the lungs? Because as artists, we have to be extremely careful with marble that's being ground up to be used in paint. And if you drive down a road, you're gonna create dust that flies up. And it's an irreversible condition and leads to cancer. I just
Right.
wondered if any of that came into the reason.
I've not personally looked into a study, but I will do some research on that.
And I'm just talking off the cuff, so I don't know.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
know that
maybe it's already down far enough where it doesn't, that's something we
the,
really need to look at.
The fines are there's a lot less fines in this than there is your crushed bank run gravel. We could dump spread a section of road with this material versus another truck. So we could put two trucks. We could take crushed bank run gravel in one truck and another truck with the other material that I was discussing earlier, in the truck tonight. You can dump spread both of them, and then you can drive through them drive directly over them. And the amount of erosion or dust created from driving through the two different products is a day and night difference. I know that does not answer your question about studying, but I can tell you firsthand experience that it doesn't create as much erosion in general, and that's without adding a dust control product like magnesium chloride to it or anything. But I will look into that as well.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that myself. All right, anything else? Very good. Do I hear a motion to sign the board orders?
I would make a motion to sign the board order.
Your second? Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. We need executive session for any matters tonight.
I don't think so.
You mentioned something in the beginning.
Don't know of anything why we should need to go in.
Yeah, I guess we could,
Some,
yeah, we did have,
You would ask the question on the
yeah,
property.
it's a contract,
oh yeah,
it's a contract thing.
it's a urban thing.
Are you prepared to go into that one?
Yeah,
Or,
we can, yeah, sure.
all right, for that? All right, we got going to executive session for that contract.
Pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A1, make a motion that the court finds that premature general public knowledge third place for a person involved in substantial disadvantage of certain matters related to contract. That's by executive session. 1 VSA section 313A1A, I make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss contract matters.
Who's gonna second the motion? Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Opposed? We're at 7:45.